Amazing. Well, welcome everyone to the Vot-ER Partnerships Team First Get Out the Vote Grand Rounds. My name is Christina Whitton O'Brien. I am the National Partnerships Director, and I'm delighted to have you with us today and look forward to sharing resources and tools with you, as well as lifting up the work of some of our Vot-ER partners. We have spent the last year building the momentum. And I went to admit somebody. So sorry. And that did not work out well. Okay, let me go back here to where we were. And let me go again. We have spent the last year building the momentum and doing the work to register patients to vote. We've talked to individual patients, held voter registration drives, sent text messages, and even been featured on the news. Now we need to make sure our colleagues, employees, patients, friends, and family vote on Election Day. We are 3 weeks away from Election Day, and voting is just one of the tools to advocate for what we care about as healthcare professionals. Research shows that our communities are healthier when more voters can participate in the democratic process, and states with more inclusive voting policies and higher civic participation rates have better health outcomes. People who vote feel a higher level of social connection and actually feel healthier. The broad reach of our healthcare system, combined with the trusted role of many doctors, nurses, and social workers that they hold in these communities, make healthcare an ideal arena for civic engagement and to engage voters. So how do we get out the vote? Our partnerships team, which includes many of the folks here today, and I'm going to name them, Marcos Damian Noyola, Helen Dodson, Diane Caldwell, Emily Campanella, Adea Sturkey, and Dr. Absentee Lewu, have been hard at work curating and crafting resources and tools to make it easier for you to get information out about where to vote, what's on the ballot, and how to help patients who are in the hospital vote. And one of our other items here is how to take time off to vote. This flyer, and Marcos, maybe you can drop the link in the chat, is something that you can use to either send out to your employees. You can click on the links and get additional resources there, and you can even post it in place if you'd like. But we created this for you all to use as you see fit to help get the vote out. We've also updated our landing page with Get Out the Vote resources. So you can keep using your badges and lanyards, keep using any of the digital tools and the posters or any of our QR codes. They will all still work, and they will point you to our landing page where, again, people can learn about voting in their state, contact the helpline to get additional questions, etc. So today, we will take a deeper dive into all of these tools by hearing directly from Vot-ER partners like the Healthy Democracy, Healthy People, Vote 411, League of Women Voters, and Patient Voting, who actually developed these resources that we are using on our landing page. I am now going to turn over our event to our partnerships manager, Marcos Damian Noyola, and who'll introduce our next speakers.
If you could advance the slide, Christina. Thank you so much for the introduction, Christina. My name is Marcos. I'm the partnerships manager here at Vot-ER. Just want to quickly introduce Nora from Healthy Democracy, Healthy People. Who's going to be talking a little bit more about the healthy voting guides and some other resources that partners can use to communicate these healthy voting guides. Nora, if you'd like to start sharing your slides.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Okay, so hi, everyone. My name is Nora Gamanow. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the partnerships director of Healthy Democracy, Healthy People. One key resource that we have for the election this year are healthy voting guides, which is a one-stop shop place to get all of the information about the options for casting your ballot this election season. But first, I want to share a message. We're really excited to partner with Vot-ER on healthy voting guides. And I want to share a message from Aaliyah Bhatia, the executive director of Vot-ER, who will talk a little bit about the guides, and then I'll walk through some more information about the guides themselves.
Hello, everyone. My name is Aaliyah Bhatia. I am the executive director at Vot-ER and Civic Health Month. And we are so honored and grateful to be in partnership with Healthy Democracy, Healthy People on the healthy voting guides, and including them in Vot-ER's resources and materials for our health professionals and their patients. One of the things that is so exciting about these guides is that they follow on a wave of support for the importance of voting as it relates to our health. The American Medical Association recently passed a resolution affirming voting as a social determinant of health. Health and Human Services has included it as a standard in their Healthy People 2030 research standards. And additionally, most recently, the Association of American Medical Colleges has put out guides on how medical schools and medical students can engage in voter access and ensure that we uplift its importance in ensuring our patients' health and our country's health. What's really exciting about these healthy voting guides is it ensures that you have everything that you need to know on election day. Whether that is how to vote early, whether that is when your polls open, whether that is more information from the Secretary of State's site. They are a perfectly good and nonpartisan resource to be able to look up any of this information. And we're really excited to integrate those resources straight into our Vot-ER tools and resources. One of the things that we really love about the healthy voting guides is that you can choose based off of your state to see the very specific information and resources for the community that you live in. And then you can see that information in a beautifully designed way that is mobile compatible and really, really effective to quickly look up important information. We're really excited for the opportunity to partner with Healthy Democracy, Healthy People on this, and wishing everybody a wonderful Civic Health Month. And we look forward to incorporating the healthy voting guides straight into our Vot-ER landing page coming soon. Hello, everyone.
Oops.
My name is Aaliyah Bhatia.
Sorry, everyone. So as Aaliyah was saying, healthy voting guides are a nonpartisan, health-oriented voting guide for all 50 states, DC, and the voting territories. They originate from the 2020 election, which, as we all remember, 2020 was the start of the COVID pandemic, and there was a lot of conversations about how to vote safely and effectively during the pandemic. While we are in a little bit of a different place right now with the pandemic than we were in 2020, we think that these health-oriented guides help health community members or health professionals talk about the importance of voting for community health and include a community health framework. And again, very C3 oriented information that everyone can feel comfortable sharing in all settings. And so we've produced these guides with the help of the American Public Health Association, the National Association of County and City Health Officials, the Center for Civic Design, the Center for Tech and Civic Life, and Vot-ER. And so you can feel confident that these voting guides were developed with experts in both public health and civic design fields, and are a really, really handy resource that come in both English and Spanish, and can be printed out on any computer printer to be shared kind of widely throughout healthcare settings. Our main message for these guides is that voting is a way to exercise your voice on decisions that affect your health and the health of your community. Voters have tons of options for casting their ballot by mail or in person, and these healthy voting guides help walk every voter through their different options with very easy to understand infographics and top lines that are gleaned from Secretary of State's website. So we know that it's trustworthy information about how you can vote this election season. And the main message is that voting contributes to healthier communities. Just to look a little bit at one of the healthy voting guides, you'll see, the screenshot. It has all the information about kind of top lines on what you need to know about elections, some healthy voting tips. And then each different type of voting has a drop down. So you'll see on this slide, the vote by mail drop down is highlighted, is clicked, and you can see, an infographic clear of you need to mark your ballot, you need to sign and seal your envelope, and then put it in the mail to return it by election day. There's also election office contact information, links directly to the Secretary of State's website if you want to find out more, and information on, again, voting early and voting in person on election day as well, for those who want those pieces of information. These are available in Spanish and foldable pocket guides. And so we feel confident and comfortable sharing them across a multitude of communities, and hope that you all will use them in your healthcare settings to share with as many voters as possible. And lastly, I just want to highlight a few resources for you all that I believe will be sent out after the call. We have a partners communication toolkit that you are free to use to copy and paste, social media messaging. There's graphics you can share, promo videos like the one I shared at the beginning of my presentation, op-ed templates, sample emails you can send to your staff or your members. And then we're also using the Healthy Voting Guides at Healthy Democracy, Healthy People to help celebrate the civic holidays that are coming up. And the last civic holiday we're planning to celebrate is Vote Early Day on October 28th. And we encourage you all to use the communications toolkit linked here to share the Healthy Voting Guides as part of Vote Early Day on the 28th. And I will now pass it back to Marcos to introduce the next partner. Thanks all.
All right, everyone. Just gonna pull up my slides. Awesome. So next, we're going to have Vote 411 with the League of Women Voters come present a little bit more about some of the amazing resources that they have to offer. Megan, the senior manager, is going to be speaking a little bit to them. And folks, if you have any questions, just hold on to them. We will be having a Q&A panel at the end once all three organizations present. But Megan, please go ahead and take the stage.
Perfect. Thank you, Marcos, and thank you everybody for being here. I am just going to share my screen really quickly so that you can see my presentation. Of course, it's hiding at the very bottom of all of my things that I have open. All right. So thank you again. I work for the League of Women Voters. My name is Megan Brown, and I am the Vote 411 Senior Manager. And I am here to talk to you all today about the League's voter education resource, vote411.org. But before I get to Vote 411, I want to give a really brief overview on what the League of Women Voters is, for those of you who may not know. So the League is 102 years old. We were founded in 1920, and pretty much our mission for those 102 years has been voter education, voter mobilization, and ensuring that every voter feels empowered to cast their ballot before or on election day. We're made up of about 750 local leagues, 50 state leagues, and about 400,000 supporters. And you're going to see a little bit later in this presentation how we work closely with those kind of folks on the ground so that they're able to help us ensure that we have the most accurate information at all times, as election information changes pretty much all the time. And so we are updating things constantly. But vote411.org, like I said, is the League's voter education resource. We are actually celebrating the 16th year that we've run Vote 411, but the League has had an online voter education resource since 1999. So we have been providing online election information for voters for an extremely long time. What you'll find on Vote for 1-1, you'll see here is kind of a snapshot of what is available. I'm going to be spending the bulk of my time today talking about our candidate information and how you can utilize that to learn more about the candidates on your ballot. But we have a whole bunch of resources, including what we just put forth yesterday, which is a Make Your Voting Plan resource that is going to help people really plan out what they're going to do and how they're going to cast their ballot. So just some really high level goals for what we're looking for Vote for 1-1 is that we want down ballot candidate information for all voters in America, which we do have. We are having that more and more candidates published daily. I literally had people from Missouri email me today saying they're publishing their content. We like to have the candidate information available by the time voters start voting. So either absentee ballots are mailed or early voting starts in their state. So it is kind of a rolling basis because every state has different rules and different timelines. Our goal is to reach about 6 million voters this year, which is actually on par to the 2020 presidential election. And in midterms, we tend to see fewer people engaging, but our goal is to reach those and make sure that everybody is engaging in the election process this year. Like I said, we are powered by 750 local leagues. I work with them closely. As the previous presenter mentioned, in 2020, COVID was making election rules change by the hour almost. And we had our local leagues be able to tell us what was happening on the ground, if polling places were closed, if absentee ballot rules were updated. We were able to provide that information and publish it on Vote for 1-1, oftentimes before Secretary of State's or Board of Elections, because we had the boots on the ground who could tell us what was happening. I did see some folks in the chat from Florida. We have what we call an alert up right now for Florida for some of the voting changes due to the recent hurricane closing polling locations and people are displaced. So we've been able to update that information as well. And then, like I said, we have tens of thousands of candidates answering our questions and speaking directly to the voters through our voter guides. Our information is also bilingual for the most part. I say for the most part because some of our candidate information is only available in English, but everything else on our website is available in English and Spanish. There's just a toggle at the very top of the page that you're able to switch between the languages and find all of the content available in English and Spanish. The candidate content is not all available in Spanish because we do ask that the candidates submit their answers themselves. We want them talking directly to you, the voters, and so we are not providing that content. So if the candidate is not able to respond in Spanish, we do display their English responses if a user chooses Spanish as their option so that they can still see the answers that the candidates provided, even if they do not provide that in Spanish. Our information is localized for your personal address. One of the things that I get asked all the time is, what do we do with these addresses if you enter that in the website? And the answer is nothing. I can't see them. We don't save them. We don't contact anybody. We want people to feel comfortable entering your address because your address dictates your polling location and what races and candidates are on your ballot. And we want to display only your polling location and the races and candidates on your personalized ballot. Most people have no idea what district they live in. So I don't even know my city council district, and I do this for a living. So if I don't know it, average Joe voter doesn't know what district they live in. So we take that guesswork out. We ask that you enter your address, and then we will only show you the races, the ballot measures, the candidates for your specific ballot. You are then able to choose and go through your candidates and mark your selections. You'll see here, these were taken from our Texas voter guide. This is the Texas governor race. I was comparing just 2 candidates. You can see the information in English and Spanish. Our friends in Texas also have this information available in Chinese and Vietnamese, but I could only fit 2 on this slide. But you'll see here, this is the information that candidates are providing. Our lead volunteers contact these candidates and ask them questions. The candidates submit their answers to those questions, and we publish those answers verbatim, completely unedited by the league. We are wanting the candidates to talk to you and to the voters, and what they choose to answer with those questions matters. So like I said, we are not going to be providing any information on any candidate. It all comes directly from them. We consider our voter guides kind of like a job interview. So we are the interviewee, and you as the voters are going to be the people who are making the selection on who is best fit for that position based on the answers the candidates are providing. So basically, users will go through the voter guide and you'll see the little checkbox next to the candidate's name, and they can make their selection directly on the website. Again, none of this is saved. We cannot access any of this information, but you say, yes, I want to vote for this candidate. At the very end of the process, after you've gone through all of your races, you have the ability to text, email, or print your responses to make it really easy for you to actually vote your ballot. So in Texas, for example, you're not able to bring a phone into the polling booth, but you can print your answers or your choices. And then when you go into the voting booth, you have it all right there. It's in ballot order and you know exactly who you're going to vote for. And it's a very easy process. Like I said, our league volunteers are contacting the candidates and asking them to answer the questions, and we are not providing any information on the candidates. So a great kind of resource that is a fun way for people to get involved in this election cycle is to help get more responses on Vote for 1-1. And that is through our candidate pressure campaign. And basically you can go through on your phone, go through your ballot, see who hasn't answered the question. And if you feel inclined, contact that candidate and say, hey, I want you to answer the League of Women Voters vote411.org website. And we see great responses from candidates. You know, it's one thing for our volunteers to contact these candidates about 15 to 20 times. But if you've got some other people, some voters in their community, they're like, I want to hear where you stand on these super important issues. It's a really great way to get involved and provide additional information for the voters. But we also hear that non-responses to our voter guides are considered a response. So like I said, it's a job interview for these candidates. And if you are at an interview and the interviewer asks you a question and you just sit there silently and don't respond, that might tell, you know, the people on the hiring committee whether or not you're fit for that position. The issues that we are asking candidates also matter. So we really try to hone in on the main issues that voters care about in their community. And that's another great reason that we have all these volunteers on the ground, is they know what the issues are in their community. I live in Colorado. I don't know what the main issues are in New York, but I know what the main issues are in my county. And I am able to then ask questions of my candidates that the voters really care about in my community. What you're seeing on the screen here, these are the top issues that women care about right now, just nationally. But we've got specific issues that we're covering in our local voter guides that really are localized. We also tailor our questions to the specific office. So we're not going to ask the US Senate candidates the same thing that we're asking, you know, a local school board. We really want to hone in on what those elected officials will be able to do and successfully, you know, what matters with their position, but then also the issues that the voters really care about in each community. And then finally, my last slide is, you know, what can you do to help? And it's really the get out the vote right now. It's really focusing all of our attention and resources in talking to your networks, your community, your friends, your family, and making sure they are prepared to vote. Right now, making a voting plan is really key. Voting in every state is different. We have all that information on Vote for 1-1, and all the candidates are different. And we also have all of that information on Vote for 1-1. And making sure that you, your friends, and your family really sit down and think, how am I going to vote? Am I going to vote early? Am I going to vote absentee on election day? Can I get that time off to vote that we talked about earlier? What, you know, hurdles might I have to go through? Do I need ID to vote? Do I need to register? North Dakota, you don't need to register. Every single state is different, and really having that plan is going to be the way that you're going to, you're going to get out, but then also ensuring that everybody that you're talking to also has their plan so that they can successfully go cast their ballot. And really directing folks to Vote for 1-1 is a great resource, especially for that candidate information, so that you know who you're voting for and what they stand for on the issues. So thank you, everybody. I'm going to turn it back to Marcos. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Megan, for providing that wonderful resource. I'm really glad to see some of the really helpful tactics that you included as well at the end there. So now I would love to welcome Patient Voting. They're this fantastic organization based out of Brown University. But we have three individuals from there joining us today. We have Nicole and Kiana, both national co-directors of the organization, and we have Saba, who's our research team member. Let's go ahead and welcome the three of you.
Thank you so much, Marcos. So yeah, we are Patient Voting based out of Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island. And we are a nonprofit organization designed to help hospitalized patients vote using emergency absentee processes. So if you find yourself in the unfortunate circumstance of being hospitalized prior to an election, there are still policies in about 38 states that allow you to cast your ballot. So even if you can't make it to the polls or you forgot your absentee ballot at home, there are still ways that you can vote. So patient voting has all the information for 50 states and the District of Columbia with the specific ways that you can obtain an emergency absentee ballot, return the emergency absentee ballot application, and all of the various steps. So emergency absentee voting takes place after the regular absentee ballot deadline. And in most states, this process can be used by hospitalized patients. And in some states, it can be also used for healthcare workers who are unexpectedly called into work, caretakers of patients, and people experiencing disabilities. We have one more speaker, Anita Zahiri.
Yes, thank you.
She's here.
Just as a brief rundown of how patient voting works, although the emergency absentee voting processes vary by state, this is kind of like a general step-by-step timeline for how they typically function. So after a patient is hospitalized and therefore unable to make it to polls on election day, they receive information about patient emergency voting processes in their state through our patient voting website. And then they will obtain and complete an emergency absentee voting ballot application. And then after this, they need to submit their application to the Board of Elections, and that can vary by state either through mail, electronically, fax, or authorized agent. And after this, the Board of Elections will send the patient a ballot, the patient will vote, and finally, the voted ballot will be returned to the Board of Elections, either through mail or through an authorized agent, or in some cases, the state can actually send an in-person team to the hospital. And then following this process, the patient will be able to make sure that they're able to vote regardless of their location on election day. Yeah, and so this is where patient voting can help. So like Nicole said, we're a nonpartisan organization that's aiming to help increase voter turnout amongst registered voters who are unexpectedly hospitalized in the days and weeks prior to election. And there's three main pillars that our organization focuses on, which are research, outreach, and advocacy. And over the summer, we spent a lot of time on the research, looking into all the different processes for states. And our team has put together lots of materials individualized for each state. And our main focus now is outreach, really getting this information out to patients, healthcare providers, as many people as possible. And one of our main resources for this is our patient voting website, which has information and resources, again, about how to vote as a hospitalized patient in each state. And our team of researchers is always available to provide more assistance via email. And so here are some testimonials from patients that have been able to vote with the support of patient voting. For example, on the top, we can see someone saying, "I just voted for my hospital bed. I'm deeply grateful to the energetic doctor who helped me through this process. And most of all, that a program like this exists. Our right to vote is sacred in this country, so access in the hospital for patients is critical." And these are just really nice to read, and they really show the direct impact that our work has, our work and our resources in supporting patients to ensure their access to voting.
So here's a sample website page. This is Rhode Island and serves as a model for our other state pages. We have a summary deadline table at the top, followed by a steps to vote for a hospitalized patient. Then we have PDF printable materials that are ideal for putting up in hospitals, social work centers, clinics, etc. We have a link to the state election website, and if the state has a printable emergency absentee ballot application, we include that in all language translations we can find. We have participating hospitals, patient voting team members who are sort of experts in the state, which we are still adding to. We also have a link to the state law, which can be used if anyone at an election office is confused about what an emergency voting process is. You can reference that general statute linked. And then we also have information about any changes because of COVID-19. So in many states, such as Rhode Island, there were more requirements before COVID-19. So Rhode Island had a notary and witness requirement for emergency voting, but they have now canceled that, and it has held through to the 2022 election. So we just include that in case anyone's looking at a past version of a state website, because many of these are a bit archaic. And yeah, our email is always at the bottom of these pages as well for specific questions.
So as Kiana had mentioned, one of the other pillars of our team is research. And in 2020, we did a very large meta-analysis of all the processes across the 50 states and DC, and we published that in the Health Affairs Journal. Now, our current research is focused on doing kind of a check-in on how these processes might have changed permanently due to COVID. And we're also trying to make a scorecard system for each state based on their accessibility of voting. And as previous speakers have mentioned, things change almost daily due to COVID sometimes. So we try to keep up with it as best we can and get all that information out on our website.
We're so grateful to be able to present at this webinar, because the key step of getting this information out is using all of your networks. So if you can contact local hospitals, human resources centers, volunteer programs, and any other interested groups, that would be amazing to get this information to all 50 states.
So we just want to say thank you again for listening, and to everybody who joined this webinar. Feel free to reach out to us via our email, patientvoting@gmail.com. You can also scan that QR code and access our website, which has been fully updated for all 50 states. And if anybody is interested in being a research member or a state representative, please feel free to reach out. We are always welcoming to anybody on our team, and follow us on social media at Patient Voting on Twitter, and our Instagram is also Patient Voting. And our website is patientvoting.com. Very, standardized.
Thanks, Marcos. Back to you.
Fantastic. And then Christina, if you can help me just remove the spotlights. Well, folks, we're going to hand the baton to Diane, who's going to help us with our Q&A session. And I'm going to go ahead and spotlight our 3 organizations.
Thanks, Marcos. Hi, everyone. My name is Diane Caldwell. I'm an intern here at Vot-ER. I just want to say thank you so much to our wonderful panelists, for the information you shared with us today, and of course, for the amazing work you're already doing to get out the vote. So at this time, we're going to open up the floor for questions. Please feel free to unmute yourselves and ask any questions to our panelists. So I know I had a few questions had come in earlier. So I'll just jump in here, and of course, anyone else can unmute and ask their questions. But in addition to the online resources and foldable pocket guide, is information from the Healthy Voting Guides downloadable as a document or a PDF?
Yeah, so the printable foldable pocket guides are PDFs that you can download, and they have all the same information that the website has for each state's and territories' voting options.
Okay, great. And this next question is for patient voting. If a hospitalized patient already requested an absentee ballot and they didn't use it for whatever reason, maybe they started dealing with health concerns at that time, are they still able to request a new emergency ballot if they are hospitalized?
Yes, they are still able to request an emergency ballot, and their previous ballot will just be canceled. And in universal mail-in states, we have information on how you can request a replacement ballot in that situation as well.
Great, thank you. And another question here, what are the responsibilities for a patient voting state representative?
It can be really whatever you make of it. I'd say the minimum is to do your best to distribute the information in your state, whether that be healthcare systems, local medical schools, volunteer programs, and there's more opportunities for involvement, like translating our English resources. So those are just a couple options, but happy to meet and talk more with anyone interested.
Great. And this question.
I am
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jeffrey.
Hi, Jeffrey Thomas from the Mississippi Delta Voter Engagement Project. And I'm curious if each of the panelists has anything to offer about Mississippi and the various work that our state. Thank you.
So I can hop in as from Vote for 1-1. Yes, we do have a ton of content on Mississippi. Basically all the voting election rules that are specific to Mississippi, as well as down ballot candidate information for Mississippi. The easiest way for voters to access that is just to go to vote411.org and enter their Mississippi address, and that will bring up all of the specific Mississippi content that they will need to successfully cast their ballot, including their polling place and their candidate information and all of the election rules that are specific to Mississippi, because every state has to have different election rules. So it does have all that content available for Mississippi voters.
Thank you.
I would just echo what Megan said about healthy voting guides. Each state has a specific healthy voting guide, and we have a contracted attorney who's helping us update the voting rules if they get updated by state legislatures or Secretary of States as we get closer to the election, like we saw in 2020. That's happening a little bit less than it was in 2020, but things like what's happening in Florida with the flood situation, all of that stuff is getting updated on the back end so that voters have the most up-to-date and current information about their options to vote this election season.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, so Mississippi doesn't have a formal emergency absentee ballot process, but it does allow you to submit your absentee ballot application pretty much until election day. I've linked our website page for Mississippi in the chat. And you can use an authorized agent to submit that application from the hospital. Doesn't have to be a family member, can be anyone that the patient designates.
Great, very helpful. Thank you.
We have a few more questions here, but if anybody wants to quickly unmute themselves, any other questions that people might have first? Okay. So this next question is for Vote 411. If somebody wanted to, how can they join volunteer efforts to get candidates to answer questions and share their stance on issues? If you could just repeat that information, that would be helpful.
Absolutely. And I will actually put a link in the chat to where we have all of the helpful information, but I love that you want to. It's really a great resource. And like I said, it's a great way to just be able to do this, you know, while you're watching TV, as you go through your Vote for 1-1 voter guide, see which candidates have not responded. And then you can use the templates and the information available on that link that I just shared to contact the candidates. We find it most successful if you contact them publicly. We've been doing a lot of things behind the scenes, like calling them or emailing them personally, but the public kind of outreach tends to get their attention a little bit faster. So just a simple tweet that just says, hey, I want to know where you stand on the League of Women Voters voter guide questions, like answer their questions. The template we have is much better than that, but any type of that kind of outreach is extremely helpful. Candidates always find me when they get these type of questions. So they are like, hey, I heard from 5 people, they want me to answer their questions. How do I answer our questions? And then we take it from there to resend them their contact form. But it would be amazing to have folks take part in this process. And it's a really great resource. We have a lot of people who will do it kind of as groups with their local leagues. They all get together and just tweet at candidates who haven't answered the question. So all of the resources are going to be on that candidate contact page.
Yeah, I just linked our Get Involved page from our website, and this just goes directly to our email. Being a state representative is as easy as telling your patients about the right to vote and directing them to our website, but it could be as much as organizing your own patient voting team in your hospital.
Great, thank you. And I'm sorry, I'm not sure if on my end it showed that I momentarily was kicked out. So hopefully you can all see and hear me okay. The next question is for patient voting. How successful have you been in getting hospitalized patients to vote?
So I was not part of the 2020, I guess, email checking team that responded to all the patients' requests. I was just doing research on the policy. However, I know that we got thousands of emails over the election season last year because of all the hospitalized patients from COVID. We don't know how that's going to play out with the midterms, which historically has had lower voting turnout. But yeah, we hope to get more metrics on this in the future.
Great. And the last question I have on my end, and this is open to all panelists, in your opinion, what is your top recommendation for how we can make it easier for our employees and colleagues in healthcare to vote or to encourage their patients to vote?
I can go. Like I had mentioned in my presentation, making a voting plan, have you make your voting plan first and then talk to your patients and talk to your community and just make sure it's on their mind. So I work, the election's always on my mind, but most people are going to not realize that election day is 20 days away and that you really do need to, in some states, it's not as easy as in other states. Like I said, I'm in Colorado, we're a vote by mail state. My ballot will end up in my inbox probably tomorrow, but other states like Mississippi, you have a little bit more steps that you have to go through to cast your ballot. So making sure you have that plan and then helping others make that plan, really the research has shown is the best get out the vote tool that we have. I do know some folks are saying, hey, let's make a plan to go vote together. Let's plan to go vote early and get a group of people to go together, or let's all request our absentee ballots together. Like making the community around voting and making sure that you have your plan and you know what you're going to do is really the best steps that you can do this cycle.
The only thing I would add to that is make sure that your culture in your workplace fosters the ability for people to feel comfortable going to vote. There are a lot of communities across the country where people wait in incredibly long lines to go vote. And if you're feeling that external pressure of having to return back to work at a certain point, some folks will step out of that line and not actually be able to cast their ballot on time on election day. So encourage your workers to make a plan to vote, encourage your patients to make a plan to vote, make sure that you're talking about your plan to vote as as the League of Women Voters just said, as Megan said, but also make sure that everyone feels comfortable waiting and standing in that line in those polling locations that sometimes take a little bit longer to get through. And if you're able to encourage your folks to serve as election workers if they can, because election infrastructure is incredibly important to the voting experience, and making sure that those folks who can serve as poll workers makes voting easier for everyone.
Yeah, all great points. I would say from the emergencies perspective, these are all last minute scenarios. So anything you can do to have forms already printed if your state has an online application form, and have those flyers up and just ask the patients about it early. Some states, such as Rhode Island and Tennessee, have their emergency processes starting tomorrow, and they'll trickle in through election day. So just bringing it up repeatedly is really helpful too.
Thank you so much. So that's it for questions on my end. I'm going to open it up one last time to our audience for any final questions that you may have. And again, you can just go ahead and unmute. No? Okay, great. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Marcos for a short meet and greet activity and final wrap up. And just want to say thank you so much again to our wonderful panelists, and over to you, Marcos.
Fantastic. So we're actually going to skip the meet and greet, but I will leave the room open for 15 minutes after if you are willing to talk about partnerships or just willing to get to know the other people that joined our call today. So we're going to go ahead and start closing. Let me go ahead and share screen. All right, so well, now that you know about all of these amazing tools that Vote 411, Healthy Democracy, Healthy People, and Patient Voting shared with you today, what can you do? Well, I have two amazing next steps for you. The first being to share that toolkit within your organization with any colleagues that would be interested, and even with any students. It'd be super helpful for us to just help get out the vote and help build those healthier democracies. Secondly, for those who are wanting to get a little bit more involved, we have a really exciting opportunity that our organizers are helping coordinate, which is our Geotv phone banks. I've also linked the website below for you to sign up, and I would love if we'd have one of our organizers come and speak. Bianca, if you could join us for a second.
I can. Thank you, Marcos. Yeah, so as Marcos was saying, we are now gearing up for our Get Out the Vote phase. That being said, everyone that we work with, our providers, our incredible partners, we helped so many people and patients get ready to vote. I think in the call today, I saw some of the folks that I work directly with. I am the Florida organizer. And for anyone that doesn't know me, Bianca Navarro, Nate, Cecilia, I think Dr. Collins was on this call. In the state of Florida alone, we helped over 2,000 people get ready to vote nationwide. It's just been an incredible effort that we put forward. But now that we've gotten so many people ready to vote, we want to make sure that they actually go out and vote. So with the Get Out the Vote efforts, what we're doing is we're going to host 6 phone banks where there are 2 hours. You come, you join us, you choose which ones you want to attend. If you want to attend all of them, that would be great. But what we're doing is we're reaching out to all these folks that we got ready to vote, including our providers, so that we make sure that they have the information they need. And thank you to the League of Women Voters for the Vote 411 tool. I think that is the most useful tool that we could use right now, where folks could find their polling location, see what's on their ballot, so they know where they're voting and they're making an informed choice. So we are moving the step towards, we got folks ready, we got folks registered. Let's make sure they actually go out and vote. So I see Marcos dropped the link in the chat. Again, I want to say it's 6 phone banks. I will redrop that link in the chat. Please share it with your circles. This work is so vital because we've helped so many people, and we just want to make sure that everyone goes out and vote now. And truly thank you to the incredible work that all our partners and providers have done. to get us to this place where we have so many people to call, which is why we need a lot of volunteers. So thank you all again. I hope to see you at all of our phone banks. Want to mention that we will make it fun. There are going to be some prizes, some competitions, some raffles. So all this being said, that the work is very, very important. It's vital, but we're calling people that don't usually get called by political campaigns. So they are grateful that we're calling them. And it is such a great experience. If you've never phone banked before, this is the best time to start phone banking. And if you have phone banked before, I promise you, you have never seen anything like the list that we use and the folks that we call. Everyone is very friendly and very grateful to be getting these calls because they are new to the voting sphere. So let's make sure we get out that vote. Thank you, everyone. I'll pass it to you, Marcos.
Awesome. Thanks, Bianca. And I can attest that Bianca does indeed make it fun and is committed to the costume. She wore this mask yesterday for almost 45 minutes. So it's certainly going to be a good time. I'll be there tonight. So I hope I'll see some of you out there tonight as well. But that wraps up our webinar for today, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time and effort to come learn about these resources today. And thank you so much to our amazing partners, Healthy Democracy, Healthy People, Vote 411, and Patient Voting, for again providing those amazing resources that are going to be so helpful to building healthy democracies and getting out the vote. But that's all for today, folks. I hope you all have a fabulous day. And if you have any questions, or if you just want to connect, like I said before, I'll be leaving the room open for 15 minutes. But that is all for today. Hope you all have a wonderful day.
Great job, everybody. Thank you so much. This was wonderful.
Thank you for organizing.
Yeah, no, we're really glad to offer the platform. So really good information. Marcos, I'm going to hop as well because I have another meeting I'm going to get to, but thank you. And Diane and Bianca for the last minute. Hopping in there. Really grateful for everybody.
Letting me jump in really quick and do a nice plug. It was a fun surprise.
Yeah, yeah. And great job with the Q&A, Diane. That was amazing. Great questions.
That was amazing.
Yeah. All right. I got a boogie. I'll see y'all later.
Bye, everyone.
Actually, I have to hop to. I also have a meeting, but thank you everyone so much.